Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about.
That is exactly what we're doing today, yeah.
Right. So, have you ever heard that phrase, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy?
Oh, yeah, the famous one.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like some line from a gritty cyberpunk novel or something, but that was actually a genuine prediction.
It was, yeah, for the year 2030.
Exactly. Published back in 2016 by a Danish politician, Ida Auken, for the World Economic Forum. And today, we're exploring the sources behind this massive shift.
It's an incredibly infamous quote now, and, it's what's so vital to understand is the context of it, because that article was originally intended to explore, like, a utopian vision of a sharing economy.
Utopian, sure.
Yeah, the author was imagining this future where city dwellers wouldn't need the burden of, say, maintaining cars or repairing heavy appliances.
Because everything would just be shared, right?
Exactly. Efficient, sustainable, delivered on demand.
But, I mean, the public reaction was the exact opposite of utopia.
Well, completely.
Instead of inspiring hope about this frictionless future, that single sentence just triggered profound societal anxiety.
It really did.
People read it as this dystopian warning that multinational corporations were quietly moving to just monopolize all physical and digital property rights.
Because, honestly, that anxiety reflects a reality we are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
We're undergoing a massive, irreversible paradigm shift away from traditional ownership.
It's everywhere.
It is. The act of actually buying a product and, holding the title to it, that's being actively dismantled.
And replaced by this rental and subscription economy.
Precisely.
And, like, looking around, we aren't just talking about your Spotify playlists anymore or your Netflix account.
No, it's way past that.
We're talking about BMW attempting to charge a monthly fee just to let you turn on the heated seats.
Seats that are already physically installed in your dashboard.
Right. It's wild. So for you listening, our mission today is to dissect this shift. We're going to reveal how it's secretly draining your wealth, locking you into endless payments, and basically turning everyday consumers into what researchers are calling digital tenant farmers.
Digital tenant farmers.
Yeah.
I mean, to understand how we got there, we have to look at the fundamental business logic.
The why.
Right. Why companies decided to just stop selling us things once and for all. And it's not some sudden Silicon Valley tech fad either.
That's the craziest part to me. The history here is fascinating because when I think of subscriptions, I think of the internet.
Sure.
But the sources take us all the way back to the 1600s.
Yeah, 1638 to be exact. King Charles I of England actually proposed a fire insurance subscription to residents.
Wait, the 1600s? Fire insurance?
Yep. The idea was that citizens would pay a recurring fee to protect their homes from disaster.
Wow.
But the mechanism of paying continuously for a service that you might not, immediately use, it was so foreign to the public mindset back then that it largely failed.
That makes sense. They weren't used to it.
Right. But fast forward to 1881, and you see the first true precursor to streaming, the theatrophone.
Okay, I read about this. Paying to listen to live theater over a telephone line.
Yes. In Europe and parts of the U.S., affluent consumers could pay a recurring subscription fee to have these special telephone lines wired into their homes.
That's incredible.
They put receivers to their ears and literally listen to live opera performances happening miles away.
So they proved the business model worked right there.
Exactly. Charging for continuous access to an experience rather than a physical good, it was viable.
And then, obviously, the digital infrastructure finally catches up. Like, in 1994, someone buys a Sting CD online.
The first secure e-commerce transaction.
Right. But the real earthquake happens in 2007.
Netflix.
They look at rising broadband speeds and make this monumental pivot from mailing physical DVDs to streaming video directly to your screen.
And that pivot proved to Wall Street that a subscription ecosystem could just scale infinitely.
Yeah.
But the underlying mechanism driving this across every single industry today is a massive shift in corporate finance.
Okay, break this down for us.
So, historically, businesses operated on CapEx, capital expenditure.
Like the big upfront costs.
Right. Think of building a factory, manufacturing physical software boxes, shipping them to stores. Because of CapEx, businesses relied on single, large sales.
Which are risky, right?
Highly risky. The revenue is entirely unpredictable. You're vulnerable to economic downturns, and you face massive customer acquisition costs, or TACACs.
Meaning you constantly have to spend millions on marketing just to find the next new buyer.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this because this is where the math really explains the madness. Under the old model, a software company had to just hope you walked into an electronics store and bought their $500 box.
And if you didn't, they made $0.
Right. So they shifted to OpEx, operational expenditures. They deliver the software over the cloud.
And instead of chasing that one giant unpredictable sale, they focus entirely on LTV, lifetime value.
Because that relies on monthly recurring revenue, or MRR.
Yes. And financial markets view $1 of subscription revenue as vastly more valuable than $1 of traditional sales revenue.
It's guaranteed cash flow.
Exactly. Wall Street assigns massive valuation multiples to companies with predictable MRR. Traditional manufacturers of physical goods simply cannot compete with those stock valuations.
Which is why the global digital subscription economy is projected to hit an estimated $1.5 trillion by 2025.
Trillion, with a T.
It's like turning every product you touch into a gym membership.
That is a perfect analogy.
Like, they do not care if you ever actually show up to use the treadmill as long as the auto pay clears on the first of the month.
Exactly. But see, if a company's entire valuation depends on guaranteed monthly recurring revenue, their main priority has to shift.
Right. It's no longer just about acquiring you. It's about making sure you can never leave.
Yes. In the business world, preventing you from leaving is called reducing churn.
Churn, right.
And to eliminate churn, companies engineer what economists call switching costs. Our sources detail 6 specific lock-in traps.
And the best way to understand them is to look at how they layer on top of each other over the life cycle of a modern consumer.
Yeah, let's trace how a normal person gets caught in this web.
Because it usually starts with something that feels like a total bargain. You go to the store and you buy a high-end Nespresso coffee machine or maybe an HP printer for a shockingly low price.
You think you got a great deal.
Right. But you've just stepped into the first trap.
The base product and consumable trap. The classic razor and blade model.
They take a loss on the hardware.
Exactly, because you are now physically locked into buying their expensive proprietary coffee pods or ink cartridges forever.
Right. Then, as you start using modern connected devices, the second trap springs.
The data trap.
Yeah, you start generating this massive digital footprint. You spend years curating Spotify playlists, or you let your phone auto-back up thousands of family photos to iCloud.
And this trap is incredibly potent, because through the data we collect over years of usage, consumers inadvertently build these heavily customized digital profiles.
And you just don't want to lose them.
Right. The psychological weight of leaving behind your entire digital history, or just the sheer friction of trying to manually migrate thousands of photos to a new ecosystem, it keeps you locked in.
So you're trapped at home, but then you go to work, and the third trap is waiting for you. The learning curve.
Oh, this one is brutal for businesses.
Yeah, let's say your office uses Salesforce or some complex video editing software.
If you or your team have spent hundreds of hours mastering the idiosyncratic workflows and bizarre keyboard shortcuts of a specific platform, your human capital is now tied to that software.
The hidden cost of switching is just too high.
Exactly. Retraining your entire staff and suffering a massive drop in productivity during the transition, it's catastrophic.
Which feeds directly into the network effects of the fourth trap, industry standards.
Microsoft Office is the classic example here.
Right. You don't pay a monthly fee for Office because Word is your absolute favorite piece of software. You pay for it because your clients, your colleagues, and your kids' teachers all use .docs files.
You have to.
If you try to rebel and use a free alternative, you break formatting, and you risk becoming digitally isolated. You're basically paying a tax just to participate in the professional world.
And this extends far beyond consumer software. For massive enterprises, there is the servitization trap.
Trap number 5.
Right, where companies stop selling products entirely and start selling outcomes.
Like the Rolls-Royce example from the sources.
The textbook example. Rolls-Royce doesn't just sell jet engines to airlines anymore. They sell a power-by-the-hour subscription.
Wait, a jet engine subscription?
Exactly. The airline pays a recurring fee for the thrust the engine generates, while Rolls-Royce handles the real-time cloud monitoring, the maintenance, and the parts.
That is wild.
The provider becomes so deeply embedded in the daily operational machinery of the client that extracting them to switch to a competitor is a complete logistical nightmare.
So what happens when you finally get fed up and try to cancel one of these services? You hit the 6th and final wall, the exit trap.
The brute force method.
Yeah, you encounter hidden automatic renewals, or you're forced into this deliberate cancellation maze where you have to call a retention specialist.
And wait on hold for an hour just to stop a $10 charge.
Telecom giants historically relied on this friction to artificially suppress their churn rates.
They absolutely did.
But wait, let me push back on this narrative of the helpless consumer for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If I choose to pay for Spotify, it's because having 100 million songs in my pocket is objectively more convenient than driving to a store to buy a $15 CD.
That's true.
Are we really victims of traps, or are we just willingly trading ownership for convenience? Are we just lazy?
Well, the convenience is real, obviously. But what's fascinating here is that to understand why we stay subscribed long after the convenience fades, we have to examine the behavioral economics operating beneath the surface.
So like psychological manipulation.
Highly sophisticated manipulation. These subscription models actively exploit the sunk cost fallacy.
Okay, how so?
If you pay a $139 annual fee for Amazon Prime, you feel a deep psychological pressure to order items you don't actually need simply to justify the upfront cost you already spent.
Wait, so because I paid for the subscription, my brain tricks me into buying more things just to make it worth it.
Yes.
We are literally paying for the privilege of manipulating ourselves.
Precisely. And when you combine that with loss aversion and status quo bias, the trap closes perfectly.
Loss aversion, meaning we hate losing things more than we like getting things.
Exactly. Human beings feel the psychological pain of losing something like access to an exclusive movie library or a legacy pricing tier far more intensely than the pleasure of gaining something new.
And the payments are invisible now.
Right. Because modern payments are entirely frictionless. Just a silent auto deduction from your credit card. They've engineered an environment where it requires significantly more physical and emotional effort to cancel than it does do nothing.
To see the devastating long-term impact of these psychological and financial traps in the real world, we only need to look at the historical case study that completely transformed the creative industry.
The Adobe pivot of 2011.
Yes. Adobe serves as the absolute masterclass in executing the shift to a rental economy. Let's set the scene for folks.
Let's do it.
Before 2011, Adobe sold its Creative Suite, Photoshop, Premiere, Illustrator, as a perpetual license.
You paid once?
Right. You got a physical disc, and you owned that version of the software forever. But the problem for Adobe was that the master collection was incredibly expensive.
It was what, like $1,500 to $2,600?
Exactly. And because of that massive upfront cost, an estimated 40% of Adobe software out in the wild was pirated.
40%.
Furthermore, legitimate users realized they didn't need the incremental new features every year, so they just held on to their old versions. Adobe's corporate growth completely flatlined.
So, facing stagnation, Adobe made a ruthless and brilliant financial decision. They killed the perpetual license outright.
Just gone.
Gone. They forced their entire global user base onto a cloud-based subscription model, Creative Cloud, for roughly $50 a month.
And what's wild is that at first, users actually celebrated the move.
They did.
I mean, if you're a 22-year-old freelance graphic designer, coming up with $50 a month is manageable. Scraping together $2,600 up front is impossible.
It drastically lowered the barrier to entry.
And almost overnight, it neutralized Adobe's piracy problem.
But, and this is a big but, the celebration masked the underlying mathematical reality. The total cost of ownership, or TCO.
The actual price over time.
Exactly. When you map a $50 monthly payment across a 5 to 10-year professional career, the subscription model vastly outpaces the cost of the old buy and upgrade model.
Oh, yeah.
The user ends up paying thousands of dollars more over the life of the software.
It is exactly like paying a mortgage on a house for 10 years. But if you miss a single payment, the bank doesn't just foreclose on the house. They lock you out of the furniture you built yourself inside of it.
That's a great way to put it.
Because that is the ultimate cruelty of how the learning curve and industry standard traps combine. If a freelancer falls on hard times and has to pause their Adobe subscription,
they don't just lose access to the application.
No. Their old .psd files, the actual tangible artwork they spent thousands of hours creating, become completely inaccessible. You cannot even open your own portfolio to get a new job.
And that mechanism demonstrates exactly how professionals are losing sovereign control over their own livelihoods.
It's terrifying.
And when we extrapolate that dynamic across the entire economy, we uncover a terrifying macroeconomic trend.
The active destruction of the wealth-building capacity of the global middle class.
Precisely. The statistics surrounding this drain on wealth are genuinely jarring.
They really are. Between 2004 and 2014, a McKinsey analysis found that the discretionary income of middle-income families.
The crucial money left over after paying for absolute necessities.
Right. It plummeted from 9% to -1%.
-1.
And it is happening in the physical world, too. By 2022, an Urban Institute study reported that 50% of renters were severely rent-burdened.
Meaning they're forced to spend over 30% of their total income just to keep a roof over their heads.
The cash flow is bleeding out from every sector.
And we also see this wealth extraction mechanism dominating the modern labor market. NYU researcher Arang Sundarajan coined the term crowd-based capitalism.
This is about platforms like Uber and Airbnb, right?
Yes. Consider a traditional taxi company. The company had to buy the fleet of cars, pay for the maintenance, and absorb the massive financial hit of asset depreciation.
Right. The cars lose value.
But today, tech platforms have successfully shifted all of those capital depreciation risks and maintenance costs onto the everyday gig worker.
Wow. While the corporate platform just hoards the high-margin, risk-free transaction fees.
Exactly. Which explains why the sources refer to this entire economic structure with such an intense phrase: digital feudalism.
Digital feudalism. The historical parallel is pretty striking.
It really is. In the agrarian Middle Ages, feudal lords held the deeds to all the land, and the serfs worked it, handing over a massive percentage of their harvest just for the right to survive there.
And today?
Today, the tech lords own the proprietary platforms, the algorithms, and the cloud infrastructure. The rest of us are the digital serfs.
We generate the user data, we create the media content, we drive the cars.
And we pay endless digital rent for the privilege of existing in their walled gardens.
But I mean, how is this legally permissible? If I buy a physical paperback book at a garage sale, I own it.
Right.
I can lend it to a friend, I can resell it, I can use it as kindling for a fire if I want to. That right used to be protected, didn't it?
It did, by a foundational legal concept called the first sale doctrine, or the exhaustion principle.
The exhaustion principle.
It basically states that once a copyright owner sells a physical copy of a work, their control over that specific copy is exhausted.
So what happened?
The tech industry found a mechanism to bypass centuries of property law, DRM, or digital rights management, combined with EULAs, end user license agreements.
Ah, the terms and conditions nobody reads.
Exactly. When you click buy on a Kindle book or an iTunes movie, you are not actually purchasing property.
Wait, really?
Really. The EULA dictates that you are merely purchasing a non-exclusive, revocable license to access a stream of data.
So they can just take it away.
Yes. If the platform loses a distribution dispute, or if an automated moderation algorithm mistakenly flags your account for a violation, your entire digital library can be deleted in by seconds.
And you have zero legal recourse.
Absolutely zero.
Okay, so we've established that we do not own our digital lives. But that creates a massive, unresolved legal nightmare for the inevitable.
Yes, it does.
If you only rent your digital assets while you are alive, what happens to them when you die?
This is the looming inheritance black hole. Financial analysts project that by the year 2030, we will witness an unprecedented $1 trillion in wealth transfer from one generation to the next.
1 trillion.
But an EY report from 2025 indicates that 50% of investors are entirely unprepared to handle the transfer of digital assets.
But hold on, companies recognize this now, don't they? Apple and Google have introduced tools like Legacy Contact or Inactive Account Manager.
They have, yeah.
I actually set up my partner as my legacy contact recently. Doesn't that solve the inheritance problem?
It solves the sentimental problem, but not the financial one.
What do you mean?
Those legacy tools are strictly mechanisms for data downloading. Your legacy contact can recover your family photos, your text messages, your emails.
Okay, that's good.
It is. But those end-user license agreements we just discussed, they contain explicit clauses stating that all digital licenses are non-transferable and terminate immediately upon the user's death.
Wait, so the thousands of dollars my parents spent building a digital movie collection or like an extensive video game library on Steam, it just evaporates.
Entirely. Legally, those licenses extinguish.
That's insane.
In fact, if you log into a deceased parent's Apple or Steam account to access the games they paid for, you are technically committing a violation of the terms of service.
Are you kidding me?
No. The wealth does not pass to the heirs. It reverts to the corporation. And the mechanism is even more unforgiving for decentralized assets like cryptocurrency.
Oh, right. Because there's no central authority.
Exactly. If a person passes away and their private cryptographic keys are lost, that wealth doesn't even return to a platform. It is permanently locked in a digital void, removed from the global economy forever.
Wow. If you are listening to this, I know this sounds incredibly bleak. Realizing you are a digital tenant farmer whose wealth evaporates upon death is a heavy burden.
It's a lot to take in.
But there is a silver lining here. We are witnessing a massive coordinated consumer backlash right now. People are waking up to the traps.
They really are. The behavioral fatigue is measurable now. Consumers are suffering from acute subscriptionitis.
Subscriptionitis. I love that term.
Right. And to regain control of their cash flow, millions are adopting a tactic called seasonal rotating.
How does that work?
Instead of passively maintaining 5 different streaming services year-round, they subscribe to Netflix for 1 month, binge the specific content they want, deliberately navigate the UGSA trap to cancel, and then rotate to Disney Plus for the next month.
So they're gaming the system back.
Exactly.
And in the realm of physical hardware, the pushback is even more aggressive. It's called the right to repair movement.
This is huge.
Because for years, manufacturers like Apple and John Deere use software locks to prevent you from opening your own iPhone or fixing your own tractor.
You were forced to use their expensive, authorized repair technicians. It's the ultimate servitization trap applied to hardware.
Right. But the legal mechanisms are finally shifting in favor of the consumer. Landmark right to repair legislation has recently passed in states like New York, Minnesota, Colorado, and California.
And at the federal level, too.
Yeah, the Federal Trade Commission has escalated its enforcement through campaigns like Nixing the Fix,
which legally compels corporations to provide everyday consumers and independent repair shops with the diagnostic software, manuals, and physical parts necessary to fix their own property.
It is a profound step toward reclaiming actual ownership.
It really is. And we're also seeing a major cultural shift toward philosophies like minimalism and the Buy It for Life movement, or BIFL.
Right, BIFL. The core idea there is to reject the cycle of cheap disposable subscriptions and instead invest in one incredibly well-crafted, durable item that will literally last for decades.
It is an excellent strategy for reducing long-term recurring expenses. But, we have to evaluate the BIFL movement through a macroeconomic lens.
Which actually brings up a crucial question. Is minimalism, or buying it for life, essentially just a luxury reserved for the wealthy?
It absolutely is. The Buy It for Life movement exposes a severe class divide in the modern economy.
Because of the upfront cost.
Right. Upfront ownership requires liquid capital. If you have wealth, you can afford to spend $300 on a high-quality pair of boots that will last 10 years.
But if you're living paycheck to paycheck,
you cannot absorb that CapEx cost. You are forced to buy the $30 pair of boots that fall apart every 6 months.
Man.
Consequently, lower-income individuals are systemically trapped in the rental economy. They spend far more money over a decade for inferior goods than a wealthy person spends for permanent ownership.
It is the inescapable tax of being poor in a subscription world.
It really is.
So knowing all of this, how do you protect yourself? First, you have to start calculating the total cost of ownership, the TCO, before you agree to any monthly fee.
Essential.
Second, support open source software and local businesses that still sell perpetual licenses. And finally, pay close attention to the legal battles surrounding the right to repair and digital inheritance.
Because those laws will define the wealth of the next generation. The mechanisms designed to extract your wealth rely heavily on your passive compliance.
Right. Don't be passive.
Recognize the psychological friction of the traps, audit your frictionless payments, and actively fight for the legal right to own the assets you pay for.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today as you look at your bank statements. If your entire digital identity, every book, movie, and piece of professional software you have ever bought can legally vanish the second your credit card expires or you pass away, are you actually building a life? Or are you just a temporary tourist paying for an extended stay in a digital hotel?
Wow. That's a question we all need to answer.
Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell. See you guys.